Well, Ben, welcome to the school bus.
Thanks.
Thanks for taking the time to join us today. To start off, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, your background?
Sure. Ben Lakoff, background in finance, and currently co-founder and business lead of Charged Particles.
Awesome. Maybe you can dive a little bit into Charged Particles. Tell us what it's all about.
Sure. So Charged Particles is an NFT protocol that allows you to take your NFT, we give it a smart wallet, and then that can hold other assets, so fungible or non-fungibles, in a programmatic way.
So how did you get into the crypto space, Ben?
Yeah.
What's the journey been like?
Man, so I was working in traditional finance, and I actually angel invested in a crypto exchange in 2016, and kind of got pulled into it that way. So started a trading company in 2017, which eventually failed, but learned a lot as a startup founder. And then ended up doing just a lot of like consulting and little projects in the space, lots of advising other startups, and then ended up doing advising at Kernel, Gitcoin Kernel, which is kind of like a Web3 accelerator type community, where I met Rob and got on board as a co-founder of Charged Particles.
Nice. I love the name too,
Yeah.
like neutral particles, and then, with a positive or negative addition becomes a charged
Oh
particle.
yeah. And that's all Rob. I mean, Rob had the foresight. Our Twitter username is DeFi NFT that we got in February 2020. But I mean, Charged Particles and all of the physics themes, that's all Rob. And like, you'll meet these like chemistry or physics majors, and they're like, I appreciate that
Right.
everything's a proton and these are photons and that's a
Yes.
lepton and they're all connected, and you're like, yeah, I had to do physics 101 to like figure this crap out,
I
know?
love it. I studied physics for a little bit before
Nice.
switching to math, so
Nice,
got me,
nice.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, Ben, we're here launching a digital nation with Sapien, a republic of DAOs. So we're thinking a lot about the future and things that inspire us, and that's sort of the theme of ETH Denver overall. So I'd love to hear what your vision of the future looks like. What does Charged Particles enable in the coming years, and what does that future look like?
Yeah. So my vision of the future in general, well, hopefully not ending in like pitchforks and torches because of, growing wealth divides and things like that.
Depends
But,
what software you develop, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely the dystopian path, and then like the more just utopian path that we're trying to encourage right now. So yeah, I guess with more specifically about NFTs, like the world is waking up to like NFTs are not just this JPEG, that it's actually just a non-fungible token, a unique token. So all the different aspects of that, and then having the benefits of digitization overall and like financialization of all of these assets, so you can wholly own them, transfer them, use them as collateral, whatever you would like, true ownership and self-sovereignty over your assets and the things that you own. So that is more along the line of like the more utopian future that I hope to encourage, and hopefully eventually becomes reality for sure.
Doesn't seem like it's too far away at this point.
yeah. And something actually we've thought a little bit about too, as like, it's funny you call it charged particles. We were thinking more like a box, right? Very simple. Like people put things in boxes.
Yeah.
You can put a box within another box. But we think that's essential to the way we curate.
Yeah.
Stuff
So a
online.
little context about where we're coming from. We started back in 2016 as like a side project, ICO in 2018, but as a social network, right? Like trying to address the issues with social. And we started in privacy, but really the issues go so much deeper than that. And it's all about sovereignty, ownership, control over the platform. And with traditional social media, the algorithmic thing is the thing that prevents that. So ownership and curation, as Anka was speaking to, is really empowers the future. And some of the concepts that we're thinking about are like curation, marketplaces, and things like a metaverse newspaper is our concept of like what that looks like. People coming together to curate information together and build their communities as they're doing it. And it's just such a powerful tool for collaboration. So I'd love to hear about any examples of you've seen communities in the space coming together doing cool stuff with NFTs.
Yeah, there's actually Packy, whatever his last name is. He has a newsletter, Not Boring, and one of them was forget the title as well. I should probably do my research on this, but like the whole theme of his article was it's just practice. So all of these crazy things that are happening within Web3, like, 40 whatever $1 million raised over the course of a week to buy a physical copy of the Constitution.
Yes.
Like, is that making the world a better place? Debatable, but like, it's actually just practice in that this massive group of people that don't know each other, don't necessarily trust each other, can like unite under one idea or cause, and really raise a lot of capital and potentially make a gigantic impact. So that's just practice for the final form when these things actually make sense for governments or for organizing around some other cause. But the Web3 tooling is what allows us to do that. And it's the same thing with social tokens and kind of these projects with very strong Ponzi-nomic token economics. These things are crazy and they seem like crazy little toys, but like, Chris Dixon, like the future kind of starts off looking funky or like a toy, So these things are just like practice for kind of the final form.
Yeah. I think culture is such a big part of what's driving the innovation, and I'd be curious to hear your experience about navigating the transition between traditional finance and what you're doing now, what the culture of like the work environment and working with people has been like.
Yeah. So, my background was more in traditional finance. I'd say we, as humans, we kind of have recency bias. So, like, I don't know, over the last couple of years, it's like a crazy bull market. So it's this, like, we all can, like, collaborate and join forces and hold hands and, like, skip into the rainbows as we land on the moon. But, like, recently, like, everything's great and awesome. But, yeah, I for sure have, like, PTSD from the bear market in 2018 or 19.
Yeah. I'm still in PTSD.
I think all of us do, right? Like, it doesn't matter how steadfast your belief is in this future and everything that we're building. Like, it drops by 10%. You're like, oh God, this is the end. Like, here we go. Great. But so I think there's differences for sure, but like this wonderful market that we are in is like kind of a byproduct of like number go up as well.
Yeah, I'm curious how you see like speculation in all this, right? Because you're deep in just NFTs, right? And how do you see that, like, how essential do you think that is to the new economy that we're all trying to build together?
Yeah, I think in general, bubbles and speculation are good. It brings in a flood of new interest and capital that can kind of fund these crazy ideas that, normally in like a more risk-off environment, you'd like, that is way out there. Like, I don't really get it. So in general, I think they're good. Obviously, it's always terrible when people lose money, when somebody buys at the top and it goes down and like they're over leveraged and those things. But in general, like this allows for the flood of new capital and kind of the fostering of innovation in the space that I think is a net positive.
Right. And sovereignty, such a double-edged sword, right? You have the power, but also the responsibility. And I think education is still something that I think collectively we can do better in the crypto space to onboard people and help them really understand the technology behind it, because people come in, there's some influencer that's talking about an NFT and that they're dumping in their money. They don't actually realize like which are the projects that actually are trying to bring utility with it, right? Like, I wonder how you're trying to differentiate tokens that are like charged particles compatible in your messaging and talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, at our core, we're an NFT protocol, so it's like the building blocks for other people to do these crazy things. But yeah, I mean, charged particles is the window into your NFT right now until other ones exist. So it's important, like education's super important, right? You buy this NFT, it's $1 million and you are bulk at that price. But if you peer inside of it and there's $10 million locked inside of it earning interest, well, that's a heck of a deal. Well, if that $10 million is time locked for 10 years and it's in WBTC, then like suddenly you're speculating on the future price of Bitcoin and like maybe it's not so much a big deal. So it like adds in all of these other layers of complexity that I think are very interesting, but also like, yeah, I mean, education's super, super important. So like getting people over those first hurdles is uber important, but then getting them like all the way to where we are and where we can enable it requires quite a bit.
Absolutely. I'm just my dad's been sending me images of apes, and he's like, Ankit, how did this sell for like $2.3 million? I'm like, Dad, it's a long story. It's people
too much money in the system.
Yeah, too much money in the system.
Yeah.
Delusion, collective belief, they're all the same thing. I don't.
Frustration, really. So like we did Harambe on Wall Street, and I've been plugged into the GME thing, the whole like the apes together strong. You know, people coming together to, you know, resist institutions that are exploiting and like creating powerful things together, movements. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that whole thing. Like what is the relation between that and crypto? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think crypto definitely has a bit of counterculture. It's like, you know, the boomers have their stock market, and the millennials and the Gen Zers like have crypto. So a bit of that, like opting out of the societal norm into this like parallel like economy world that we can live, work, and play. So that definitely plays into it a bit, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's sort of the metaverse. It speaks to like, agency and control, and like creating the world that you want to see, and really not necessarily accepting what's out there, but like taking the steps or the leaps to really change things. So it's really inspiring what's going on.
Yeah, I'm curious to learn more about, you know, examples, you know, how people have been using the protocol as far as like artists, and I saw a few use cases online, but I'm curious what are your favorites? Thanks.
Yeah, so I mean, art, tons of cool stuff happening, especially with like social tokens or other NFTs nested inside. There's more like financial use cases, so something called vesting capsules, the idea of founders or like founders locking tokens in an NFT and then selling that. So then that NFT, you transfer it to your investor or the teammate. Those tokens are locked inside, so they can't pull them out and dump them on the market. They can then transfer them to another wallet. They can sell them before they vest. You can use it as collateral for a loan. So it's like another very, very interesting use case, kind of taking an NFT as a container for these more illiquid tokens. We just had Paragon's DAO lock like $25 million worth of tokens, founder tokens, and NFTs using that use case, which is a pretty cool like first kind of use case of that.
Right. I think it really enables like DAOs to have a long time horizon, right? With the time-based investments. Now people can join a DAO and like actually participate for, you know, and not just dump their tokens, as you're saying. I think that was a serious problem, I think, back in 2019 with the people that were getting involved. You know, people are just looking for a quick buck.
For sure.
So
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's get deeper into the digital nation, right? A republic of DAOs. How have you been seeing Charged Particles, you know, sort of working within this broader ecosystem? Do you see any sort of DAO to DAO transactions happening yet?
DAO to DAO, like financial transactions
with your protocol, with like what's the most common things you've been seeing with NFTs being transacted or sort of held in a collective stake sort of model? Have you seen anything like that yet?
I'm not sure I follow.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So one of the things that has inspired us is like guilds, right? Like things like the Hanseatic League is this obscure historical example of like, okay, countries in like Europe. Well, it was like a bunch of merchants came together and like claimed sovereignty and like created a state by doing that. So like anything, it's a little obscure and hard to wrap your head around, but like communities collaborating together, anything that inspires you, any communities that you would like to see like collaborate, any potential you see there.
Yeah, I mean, with Charged Particles, we've separated into guilds, like focusing on different niches within the NFT space, and then have a number of partnerships with other kind of friends that are part of DAOs within the space. So there's certainly a lot of collaboration and kind of segmentation and further collaboration within those segments that's happening.
Nice. So what's the plan next? What's the next thing that your team is excited to work on and develop?
Yeah, so we go live with like Protocol V2. So Protocol V1 has been live for a year now on mainnet and Polygon. So that will go live in the next couple weeks. It's been on testnet for a number of weeks and all the things. Then we will go live with API and SDK shortly thereafter. NFT liquidity mining is also very soon on our roadmap, where we're actually paying users to use the protocol in new, unique ways. And then actually end of March, we're doing our first generative drop. So this will be a PFP project that uses charge particle technology and kind of will be the poster child for all the crazy games and ideas that come up in all of these discards. We'll be able to use that as kind of the sandbox to do all of these crazy things.
Nice. I think it's so interesting the relation like the gaming culture has to crypto. Are you a gamer yourself, Ben?
I wasn't. No. I miss all of these like old obscure game references as well. Yeah. Like all the years, my parents actually would like unplug the TV and say that it was broken and tell us to play outside. So I really wasn't allowed to play games a lot.
They got their son far in life.
I know.
So.
Well, it freaking worked, right? Like, but now I'm missing all like the gamification of everything. I'm like, no, I didn't play that one either. Like,
No, it's crazy. It's this like convergence point that's happening, across all these different macro trends, right? With gaming, with what we're seeing with the metaverse, with crypto, with Wall Street bets, with the sense makers, that we've been looking at.
Culture itself, right? Like NFTs are owning culture. Like it's really limitless the possibilities.
Yeah.
You're talking about not in gaming, but in the real world. So like real world use cases of NFTs. Anything that comes to mind? Like
I mean, easy ones, right? Like an NFT is an access token. You're seeing these like token gated parties IRL, which are pretty cool. But then I don't know, there's some rule in crypto, but like if it exists, people will transfer and sell it and all the things. So like now you have these like rental protocols. So what does that do to my NFT value if I can rent it for $10 to go to this party that's super exclusive for only $1 million NFT holders, So I think all of these things are like kind of evolving and moving, but NFTs as a ticket to get into something is like a very, very easy one for people to conceptualize, I think.
Yeah, one thing we've been thinking about with our NFT passports are, them as like a sort of a social ledger, right? This sort of first of its kind new asset that can actually track contributions and achievements on the NFT itself. And we're really thinking about it like looking at our real passport, right? As like a, multi-page document. Can we start tracking more and more metadata onto NFTs themselves? Is that a use case that would be possible with charged particles?
Definitely. I mean, charged particles turns your NFT into a basket, which is like a very nice passport to like hold all of the other little things that you want as you go along. Yeah, because that's one area we spent a lot of time thinking about was just reputation. How is reputation supposed to evolve with social? And I think this is like the answer, right? It needs to the power needs to be within the communities, and that's where the trust lies. At the end of the day, it's not some corporate overlord, not some AI algorithm that's going to tell who's adding what value to a network. It's really truly going to be the people, right? And coming together and identifying who to elevate at the end of the day. Yeah.
So.
Speaking of which, one of the things we're doing with our NFT passport is letting people select historical figures throughout history that have inspired them, and then generating artwork using machine learning. So, any historical figures, people from history that have inspired you, Ben?
No way, Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why?
I mean, there's a laundry list of things that I probably should know off the top of my head, but at one point I definitely remember looking through and thinking this is a highly influential person.
So you party a lot.
Yeah.
And,
He also has a great name, Ben.
Yeah.
Right.
Very interesting figure. He's like the founding father, but sort of breaks the mold. He's like the Renaissance man.
Right. It seems like a lot of people I meet in crypto parties, they're just inventing something and also just, partying it up afterwards. All right, Ben. So you get 3 nominations.
Perfect.
Who would you nominate to receive an NFT passport?
What are the characteristics you're looking for, qualifications?
People who can help lead a digital nation.
What does that mean?
Sense makers, change makers,
community builders, people that are really going forward and driving things and leaders, you know.
Nice. What kind of areas are you most looking for with these sorts of nominations from people?
Whatever matters to you, people that inspire you, people that align with your values.
Nice. Do I have to do it right now? Can noodle on it for a bit?
If you need time, we can take time. Yeah.
No, I mean,
no
my
pressure.
teammates that are here, I
Yeah.
would love to nominate. I think they're great. Mango, who kind of orchestrated this whole thing.
Mango's been great.
Yeah. Steve is our head of marketing. He's kind of holding everything up as well. And then Sam, who's our product lead. I think those three guys, they're the three guys that are with me here at ETH Denver, and they'd be just as worthy as anybody to have my nomination.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love how some people keep it close to the tribe. I've been noticing this trend, and it's people we trust and people we spend time with.
Yeah.
Well, thanks Ben for taking the time today. It's been a pleasure. Great.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.